Yo, what is going on today, guys? We are back for another best decks for ranked video slash just tournament play in general. So we have a little bit of update on the meta. Some decks have fallen off, some lists are just not really being played anymore. For example, no one really plays solo Charizard anymore. You might see, but it really does hard lose Oricorio. So like the standard really is just going to be like, for example, the Charizard with the Incineroar engine. Yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys some updated lists, some new lists and stuff like that for the playing rank for like top 1,000. You know, even just get the Master Ball, because obviously if these decks are being played in top 1,000, they get top 100. They're going to be good just to get the Master Ball in general. So for one of the first decks, we have the best deck in the game still, which is just going to be Darkrai Giratina. So nothing really new. Darkrai Giratina. They're playing the red cards. They're playing the Mars. They just hand the disruptions rare because like this deck can lose. Like, this deck is not unbeatable. This deck definitely has some bad matchups, like possibly if your opponent can get into the rare candy pretty fast, like for example Meowscarada, Decidueye, if they can get into that Meowscarada, bro, if they go second by turn 2, kind of bad for this deck, I'm not gonna lie. That's why they play the red card and the Mars hand disruption. They basically never want their opponent to actually be able to play the game while they are using the two best cards in the game. Yeah, then this one actually just got like first place around like a 200-person tournament. Obviously most decks are the same. They still play the red, they still play the Cyrus. Red is very nice for like if you do run into like the Decidueye, for example, you can do 170 damage with the Darkrai plus the red if they don't have a leaf cape. Some builds play Guzma instead of like something like the red, and then some builds actually take out like a potion, play Guzma red, and then or they just take out the potion, play like an Oricorio, because you know they want to be able to win the mirror match like more favorably. And they definitely play 2 Rocky Helmets and only 1 Giant Cave now, because the 2 Rocky Helmets is good in case you run into Oricorio. So you could have it on the Pokemon in the active spot and they have to attack it, and then you could Darkrai Chip for 40 damage, being able to knock out that bird way easier than if you didn't have the Rocky Helmet, because honestly about Rocky Helmet, bro, that matchup sucks if you do run into that bird. So yeah. Also some builds are taking like a potion, bro, and then running 2 Sabrinas just to also be able to counter that bird, so you could like dodge it and then attack something in the back and actually knock it out. So those are just like some different examples. Obviously, like I always say in these videos, some decks they have a different support ratio, bro. Like everyone does play the decks a little bit differently. Especially Darkrai Giratina, when you're playing 4 Pokemon and you have the room for 16 cards, technically you're playing 8 cards guaranteed because you're playing the 2 Pokeballs, the 2 Professor Researches. So you're playing 8 cards because you're playing the 4 Pokemon, those 4 standard cards. So the rest of your 12 cards, you literally almost can play like any combination of what you really want. And yeah, that's just like, this is just like I said, first place deck list, and it's simply the best deck in the game. It's just consistent, bro. You have your Darkrai's, you have your Giratinas, you have no evolution pieces, you don't need the rare candy, you just need to see the Pokeballs. And yeah, it's as simple as that, bro. The deck is still busted, this deck is still broken, and it's just consistent, bro. It's just easy, ramping up Giratina, Darkrai pinging, attacking of Darkrai, attacking of Giratina, GG's. So next up we have a deck that actually like I feel like just blew up and like almost everyone is playing, especially in that top 1,000. Obviously not everybody, a lot of people still play Darkrai Giratina because it's the best deck, but this deck, like everyone knew about it. A lot of people knew about the deck and it was still being played, but it just won a tournament. Actually just won the Frog EX tournament if we actually look here. So it just won this overall, these like Giratina Snorlaxes, Giratina Darkrai, some of the Garchomps. So Carnivine, Crobat. If you go first, you could have Carnivine, obviously in the most godlike scenario, you could have Carnivine in the active. You could put that in the Zubat, evolve with the Crobat. Your Carnivine is now suddenly doing 80 damage per turn. Obviously Arceus will be able to do 160 with the Crobat in 1 turn. Or if you go second, you could Carnivine attack for 50, place the Zubat down, next turn evolve with the Crobat. That's 130 damage, just 2 turns, just by attacking simply with Carnivine and having a rare candy. So this deck, like I said, just won. They have the red card because they want the hand disruption. Some of the builds play Mars. Some of them also were playing Geo. Like I know a couple builds in ranked especially do play Geo to be able to one-shot those like 60 HP Pokemon, such as like Sprigorito and Gibble. Because a lot of people are not playing the Dragon Gibble, but we're getting to that when we go to the Garchomp. But you know, something similar about like 2 Professor Research, 1 Cyrus, the 1 Leaf. Some builds don't play the Leaf, some builds do. Because like if you don't see the leaf early, bro, and you start first with Arceus, I personally tried this deck in ranked, and I started 5 games Arceus going first, and I just lost because then also I never went in the Crobat. So this deck, if you just have bad luck, bro, is bad. But honestly, this deck like really is good because I have someone in my Discord server that has gained like 300 points in the last 2 days just playing this deck. Unfortunately for some people, bro, as myself, it can be bricky. So I do want to give you that heads up in case you start playing this deck, you start Arceus, but you're like, this deck sucks. Definitely not the deck. It's definitely just bad luck, dude. Some people don't play, I don't know. Like this build is like definitely, I feel like more of like a best of 3 version. Because I've seen some other builds like just for example, like have like a Sabrina still and stuff like that. But obviously I don't know, unless you go to the Crobats, which you definitely want. Red card is nice for the hand disruption, so you can actually use that in like a support card on the same turn. Then rare can like Leaf, if you do actually find it and you have Arceus in the active and you need to switch up before it's taking damage, super useful in that situation. And we just have the one giant cave down here. You mainly put this on Arceus just because you know you want Arceus to be able to live in something like a Darkrai Giratina matchup. You don't want them to just get a free easy win with like a Giratina and a red. But yeah, like essentially, dude, you're just attacking a Carnivine in the best situation. You have the Crobats pinging at the same time, and then you're just building up the Arceus in the back. Sometimes you go into 2 Carnivines, sometimes 1 Carnivine is just enough, depending on if your opponent can brick, if you're like ready to brick them with red card. Sometimes you literally can just win the game on like turn 2 or 3 because of a Carnivine plus a Crobat situation. Also, like the losing matchups, like it's also very good in the Oricorio, obviously, because we have the Carnivine. Snorlax, like Giratina can be a little bit rough because like they can one-shot you with the berry, and obviously you're gonna need to be able to attack them like 3 times, you know, if you don't get the Crobat like right away. So that matchup could be a little bit rough, bro. And then Decidueye possibly, because this deck doesn't really play any healing cards. I have seen some lists play the Pokemon Center Lady, but like if you're like Rowlet, if your opponent has Rowlet going second, like there's been many times I played Decidueye, I sniped the Arceus, where I rare caned it into the Decidueye. I just sniped the Arceus twice, but at that point my Decidueye can just one-shot the Carnivine. After that, very easy, dude, especially if I have the Ericas, just heal up. But for the most part, bro, this deck is very strong. Like Rocky Helmet kind of gives you some trouble, which is why I think this deck playing the Guzma is actually very nice, which I like this list personally. So yeah, it's just a very strong deck right now in the meta. Next up, we just have the classic Snorlax Giratina still being played with the Greninja. 2 Greninjas, 2 Froakies, 2 Snorlaxes, 2 Giratinas. You know, best case scenario, you have your Snorlax in the active spot, sitting energy on it, so you can use a berry when necessary. This is usually played now with dual energy with both psychic and water. Yeah, and just something like 2 press research, 2 Pokemon centers ladies. 1 Pokemon center lady is kind of cool if you do have 4 energy somehow on Snorlax. Your opponent really just has a weird situation and you actually do stay asleep, Pokemon center can wake you up so you can't attack. If not, you know, the healing is just nice in case your opponent does try to like snipe something like a Giratina in the back to be able to Cyrus it in. We have the 1 Sour, so we can Sour something in with Greninja. Obviously the 2 berries, 2 rare candies, and then the Rocky Helmet is just nice. So when they do attack the active Snorlax or Giratina, especially if we have a Greninja like setup, well, honestly, one shot or just knock out like anything in the game at that point. Like so the struggle of this deck. So this deck is also like really good in the Oricorio, as you know, 1, they have to attack Snorlax a lot of times, and then 2, Snorlax you just squash it if you do have the berry early on, and you even have Greninja to deal with the Oricorio. Some of the bad matchups can be something like Steam Charizard. It basically, if you don't get the Giratina and you like don't have like the perfect situation, if they do go like first and get it, because they will just start one-shotting and sweeping through your team. So yeah, that's like the one bad matchup. To be honest, like I don't really think there is like another bad matchup. I think it's just like literally like Steam Zard if they do go first. I think that's like, and they have Charizard right away, I think that's like the worst matchup. Technically, like Decidueye can be a little bit weird. Like if they go second, like I said again, with like the God situation of like Rowlet and you don't have a Pokemon Center Lady and they snipe the Giratina, can be a little bit weird because they can just like I said, get the free 2 pointer with the snipes from Decidueye. Besides that, dude, I mean, you just have Snorlax starting 100 damage. You have Giratina setting up, so like Giratina can get that like final KO you need. Sometimes depending on what deck, it can just get the 2 KOs. Like if you're fighting like a similar Snorlax Greninja, and for some reason they brick your Giratina, like after maybe your Snorlax or Greninja gets a KO, and just come in, attack a Snorlax, attack a Greninja, and then boom, you do win the game like that. But it's like basically doing the same thing it's been doing ever since it's won that tournament. Like it's been one of the most played decks personally. I've seen a little bit. I don't think I've seen as much right now, because I feel like I've just really been seeing a lot of this next deck I'm actually gonna bring up. I feel like a lot of people, instead of playing the Snorlax version, a lot of people are playing this dumb, stupid Greninja Oricorio build, bro, and I am so sick of it, bro. I literally hate this card because I truly believe the Decidueye would be like a top 5 deck if this card just didn't exist. This deck is just super obnoxious just because we have no really way to one-shot it. Like the only way to one-shot it for me is like Meowscarada Geo, but like I'll get to that later. So we have Greninja Oricorio with the Giratina. I've seen some builds honestly not play the Shaman. I've seen a lot of builds do play the Shaman. I personally, I don't like this deck. For some reason, every time I play this deck, I go against Rampardos. Like, I'm going to be so real. And then I never go in the Greninjas just because I get very unlucky. So the Shaman actually is nice. So like the other decks I was mentioning, like a Rowlet could like snipe like a Giratina or something in the back to get around the Oricorio. Shaman literally prevents that, as Rowlet only does 10 damage per snipe. Shaman literally just heals it back up. So Shaman can be super obnoxious at certain matchups. Also, like, is very good against like the Darkrai Giratinas, as you will be taking less Darkrai chip. Obviously, you'll only be taking 10 damage a turn instead of the 20. But yeah, something like 2 Froakies, 1 Frogadier, 2 Greninjas, because you really need to go to the Greninjas, especially without Snorlax. Or Greninja is going to be one of the main attackers because you really have 1 Giratina as well. But obviously, the Oricorio is 50 damage. This is usually dual energy, both water and electric. But you basically have an Oricorio in the active spot, and you basically bang on your opponent playing an EX deck, and then they just get walled and they can't do anything, and then you just get an auto win. Then you have the Giratina charging up in case you do need to ever go into it. I know some builds, for example, have been playing like no Shaman and then 2 Cyruses, which is the build I was using. But I don't really like this deck. Like I said, this is definitely a strong deck, but I've lost with this deck so many times. It's one of those decks, dude, where like kind of like similarly to Arceus Carnivine, where it's winning tournaments, it's doing very good, but then I try the deck out and it just bricks. Like, I play like 10 games, it bricks. So if you don't get the Greninjas, honestly, this deck sucks. If you are so unlucky and you can't go into the Greninja, you probably won't win with this deck, to be honest. But obviously that doesn't happen that often unless you just have like a very unlucky day, which I simply just had yesterday trying the deck out. Then we have like the 2 Iridas because we want to keep the Oricorios alive, especially when we are playing the Darkrai Giratina. The Irida, you know, obviously heals the 40 damage that it prevents 2 Darkrai chips. And that's not even counting if you are playing the Shaman variant. Then we have something like a Guzma, where we really don't want to be attacking with the Rocky Helmet, so that's where we have the Guzma. 2 Pokeballs, 2 Rare Candies, and 1 Giant Cape. Pretty standard. Sometimes you can put the Giant Cape on like an Oricorio or Giratina, obviously to let it live that extra chip damage or hits you need. Sometimes you can't put it on like Greninja because, you know, a fellow Giratina can only do 130 damage if they don't have anything else set up and you don't have any previous damage. But most of the time, I feel like it's used definitely on Oricorio and Giratina. So essentially, bro, like I said, you have Oricorio in the active spot, you have the Greninjas chipping away. You could swap in for the Greninjas to get a KO, loading up the Giratina. And then you could also like get a point with Greninja or Oricorio, charge up the Giratina, Greninja Shuriken, something in the back like an EX Pokemon, Cyrus it in, swap in the Giratina, attack, boom, win the game like that. Very similar to the Snorlax build, except instead of walling just like any deck kind of, it basically just walls the EX decks. So next up we have Garchomp again. So Garchomp is now starting to be played with the Dragon Gibble because Carnivine obviously is rising up in usage and we don't want to be getting one shot, so that is why you do see the Dragon one. Basically 2 dragons, the 1 Goodbye, and then the 2 Garchomps EX, the 1 Cranios, 2 Rampardos. So this deck can definitely destroy the Snorlax deck if you can get in the Rampardos super fast. Not only that, but it actually does snipe stuff in the back. So like something like even like the Oricorio Greninja, you're not gonna be like if they do in the Greninja right away, it's gonna take you 3 snipes to be able to knock out Greninja if they don't have like any Iridas. But at the same time, like Oricorio is only doing 50 damage, not a lot, especially when you are playing the 2 Lilies. So you have that. Obviously also like the Snorlax variant, but like Snorlax is not gonna be able to really knock out the Garchomp, so you can just like snipe the Giratina for free, which is super good. Plus, you know, Rampardos and Dragon or Garchomp both are fighting types, so Snorlax can get easily 1 or 2 shot by them. But I think this deck is definitely seeing a lot of tournament play. In ranked, it's still being played a lot. I don't think it's being played as much as it was initially like 2 days ago. Like 2 days ago, I played ranked, and I've played like 80% Garchomps. I was loving to play Decidueye, but it has faded off a little bit. Definitely still strong. You still see it a lot. You just don't see it like 24/7 like you were seeing a little bit when it first popped off. But something like the 2 Lilies, because you know Rampardos and Garchomp are both 2 stage 2 Pokemon. 1 Cyrus, Garchomp does snipe. 1 Iono, because you really want to find the evolution pieces. Some play Pokecomp, some play Iono. Iono does give you technically like a chance to just be able to like use the turn 2, find what you need, boom, go into it. So I kind of like the Iono more. 2 Rare Candies, 2 Skull Fossils, obviously we do need them. The 1 Pokeball, we only have 1 other basic besides the starting at Gibble, which we're guaranteed to start with. And then just that some builds play that 1 Giant Cape just in that situation where you need to live that hit. You usually wouldn't without the Giant Cape. And yeah, I mean, you guaranteed to start Gibble, best situation, Rare Candy in the Garchomp, and then you build up the Rampardos after that. Or if you go something like second, you attack with Gibble, swap in the Rampardos with the Rare Candy if you have the Skull Fossil, Rare Candy, and Rampardos, and then start one-shotting things before your opponent can really set up. I've seen some builds take out like a Lily for a red card or a Mars for a little bit of hand disruption. Even like the giant cape, actually, like some play 2 Lilies and then no giant cape, and then they just play like a red or like a Mars. So like I said, bro, a little bit of stuff you can change up. Deck is still very strong, and I do run into it like quite often, bro. And it can be good against like these top decks, like I said, bro, like these Snorlax, Giratinas and stuff like that. So, and obviously, you know, Rampardos / Cranido / even Gobite can definitely deal with these Oricorio. So that's just one thing I wanted to note. And yeah, it's just a very strong deck still. Similar to the Garchomp, we have the Lycanroc variant, which is still seeing played. Definitely Garchomp is seeing way more play, I feel like, in my opinion, than the Lycanroc build. So the Rockruff build is cool because, you know, Rockruff does actually search Lycanroc if you do go second. So by turn 2, you can go on the Lycanroc, and then the Lycanroc can do 50 to 100 damage. Thins out the deck, well, Rockruff thins out the deck, so you can find the Skull Fossil hopefully easier. Something like this, bro, red, very nice. Be able to, like, for example, because Arceus is seeing more played and they only play 1 giant cape, Lycanroc can actually one-shot Arceus with red, does 100 damage, 120 plus the bonus, red 140. So that is something you do want to keep in mind if Arceus seeing higher usage. One Cyrus, dude. Some play Sabrina, some play Cyrus. Is kind of like up to you. The one Lily is nice on Rampardos to maybe live a hit after getting a KO. When I know, like I said, bro, same thing with the Garchomp. They play a Pokemon because they are playing less cards because they don't have to play the extra like stage 1 for Garchomp. But yeah, essentially you start with Rockruff, bro. You search in the Lycanroc. You hopefully thin out the deck, find the Skull Fossils, go in the Rampardos, bro. Kind of sweep. If not, you just attack with Lycanroc until then. Maybe go into second Rockruff, Lycanroc, and then boom. 3 non-EXs, so that's like kind of annoying. But because Carnivine is seeing high usage, you do got to watch out as Rockruff would lose. So I think this is why this deck specifically is falling off a little bit, because it does kind of lose to the Carnivine deck. Because, you know, Rockruff is guaranteed fighting type. It's not like Gible where you have the Dragon one. But like if you don't run into the matchup, bro, it can be pretty strong. So I do want to still mention it because it is still being seen a little bit. I just don't think it's being seen as much. So next up we have another version of actually a Darkrai Greninja deck. So this one has been popping up, like especially in like the top 100. I've been seeing someone on Twitter using this who's like top 50. I've seen some builds only play 1 Froakie though, just so you don't actually start with it, because obviously starting with it would be pretty bad. And obviously it's still going to be pure dark because you're playing Darkrai. But essentially this gives you that extra chip damage for Darkrai and Greninja. So this deck also did very good. I forget exactly what place it got, but I think it got like at least like top 30 in like a 1,000-person tournament. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken. It could have been like maybe like a top 20 in like a 300-person tournament, but I know it did pretty good. Yeah, but you just have the Greninjas, Darkrai Giratina. It's essentially just Darkrai Giratina, but you're taking 6 extra spots for that Froakie Greninja and the rare candy package just to be able to do actually more chip damage. And it can be super deadly, bro. If you go second with Darkrai, go on the Greninja, like 40 ping constantly is just very obnoxious, bro. You could like it's just kind of like dominate and destroy stuff, right? Just with a solo Darkrai alone. Kind of similar how it was played back in space time. Like I said, right, like there's literally nothing crazy about this deck. This is like the one that did good with the Rocky Helmet, 1 giant cape. Like it's just Darkrai Giratina with the additional Greninja, bruh, and less support cards. Yeah, can do a lot of damage. So next up we have the Stoke Charizard build. So this is one of the decks. It's literally you don't play the game. You don't play against your opponent. You get Charmander and you get Stoke Charizard by your first or second turn. You do it and you most likely win the game unless they have like a god set up themselves. Yeah, as they usually do on turn 1 or 2. You try to set up Stoke Charizard. If not, you're probably losing the match, to be honest. Or you're basically stalling with your Charmanders and Litzens to be able to do that. You have the 1 Litzen, 1 Incineroar package just as a way to basically help beat Oricorio. Because without it, Stoke Charizard hard loses. Even then, sometimes you still can't lose if they have like the perfect setup with the Iridas. And maybe if they're playing like the Greninja one, they could just do a bunch of damage and like be able to swap around and stuff like that. Something like 2 Lilies is really good to let your Stoke Charizard live as long as possible when it does come out. Or even Incineroar if you somehow get the 1 Litten and 1 Incineroar very early. 1 Iono and then the 1 Pokemon to be able to find those pieces. The 1 red card is very nice hand disruption. And then, you know, the giant cape Stoke Charizard let live even longer. And the red is nice to be able to let Charizard do 170 damage, being able to one-shot something like a Giratina and a Darkrai with a giant cape. Even something like a there's another one that's 170. I mean, a lot of things are like 170 HP. So like, yeah, you know how good red is. But this is also one of the best decks too. Like I said though, out of all these decks, it's the less consistent because like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just one of those decks that I can't play. I personally tried this deck out. I went 7 games without finding Charizard. Obviously, at the end of the day, I know that's just bad luck, but it is definitely strong. And there's literally people in the top 100 who are like solo playing this deck. So yeah, it's just one of those strong decks. Like I said, where you get Stoke Charizard up, you win. If not, you lose. It's basically very similar to the old Charizard. If you got the old Charizard out of a bunch of energy, you won. If not, you probably just are losing. So next up we have this Decidueye deck, and just as so I've been playing Decidueye the most. I'm playing Meowscarada Decidueye. I've tried out this variant too, and this deck is extremely strong if you are playing in those good matchups like Darkrai Giratina. So I think this deck is personally only good when you get to like the very high, when you are playing against almost constantly Darkrai Giratina. Around like 1600, like 50, like around like 1500 through 1700 in that range. I'm personally fighting a lot of Oricorio Greninjas, and it is very hard to deal with the deck. We do have the Geo to let Meowscarada one-shot the Oricorios, but if they do have 2, dude, and they have like the God set up with the Greninjas and like the Giratinas, it can definitely be hard, especially if you do get red card in Mars. This deck loses. This deck, obviously Stoke Charizard does too, and a lot of other decks, but this deck hard loses because obviously Spigarito doesn't do anything until you evolve. Yeah, just, you know, any stage 2 deck loses a hard to Mars red card. This one I just feel like especially rough because all of your basic Pokemon don't really do anything. Whereas like something like I don't know, like I guess yeah, that's the case for most decks, to be honest, so I can't really say anything. But yeah, this deck is extremely powerful. If you can go to the rare candies pretty early, you have Spigarito, which is nice to be able to search the deck, then know the deck to find those pieces. Then you have the 1 Rowlet, 1 Dartrix, 1 Decidueye line, just in case you can't find the rare candies, and you do find the Dartrix, for example, you can actually go in the Decidueye without that rare candy piece. I've seen some people not play the Dartrix, but this deck is personally played by Alex Piney, or forgive me if I mispronounced that, but and they're currently 19th place in the rank ladder as I'm actually talking about this. Yeah, so this is literally their deck. This is the exact copy that they posted on Twitter. They have the red card and the Mars for the hand disruption, basically to screw your opponent over as you're setting up your things. You have the Florgato to be able to go in the Meowscarada, like similar to the Decidueye package, in case you can't find the rare candies, because honestly, that just sometimes happens with these stage 2 decks. Sometimes you just cannot find the rare candies that are on the bottom 5 on your deck. So having the stage 1s actually does increase the consistency of the deck a little bit, so that's pretty cool. Although if you do have the rare candies and you are searching for Spigarito, the downside of playing these stage 1s is that you can find them when you probably don't want them. If you do want to go right away to like a Meowscarada, for example, going second against like a Darkrai Giratina, and you search that Florgato, it definitely can be a feels bad moment. But this deck is also only playing 1 Erica. I kind of like 2 Ericas personally in my build. Obviously this person is top 20, they're doing something right. So then like I said, the Geo is just simply for the Oricorios. Obviously Geo does have more uses. Sometimes it can be used in other matchups. Like for example, Meowscarada can one-shot a Giovanni doing 140 damage, or Meowscarada can one-shot a Arceus using Giovanni. Meowscarada can one-shot a Darkrai for a giant cape with Giovanni, and there's other things, but I really do think the main usage probably was the Oricorio and the Arceus probably. Darkrai is definitely just a nice bonus. And then we just have, like I said already, the Mars, and then we just have the 2 leaf capes, because being at either 200 on Decidueye or 170 on Meowscarada is just extremely broken, and lets you like live those extra attacks you used to not before the leaf cape existed. Anyways, that does it for the updated decks. I think these are currently the strongest decks. So one deck you might not be thinking, bro, where's Solgaleo? Solgaleo is a fraud. Solgaleo like really just fell off, to be honest. Like even in tournament play, I'm not really seeing Solgaleo too much anymore. And then like, dude, I don't think I played against the Solgaleo in like the last like three days. I don't think I played against Solgaleo. It's kind of one of those weird situations where like I first saw Solgaleo, I'm like, okay, 120 damage doesn't seem that good, but like then you have the rare candy. But I think the reason Solgaleo is definitely not doing as good is 120 damage. It doesn't actually one shot, and unlike the Decidueye that does 80, you have the ability to snipe, which is the benefit. Plus you can play it with Meowscarada, and then obviously Garchomp can snipe too, and then you have Rampardos. Bro, Solgaleo, you really only have Skarmory. Like you have Excadrill, and then you have Excavalier, which is like cool, but they're stage 1s. Solgaleo basically can definitely lose to Oricorio, as Oricorio like Cosmog doesn't do damage and stuff like that. And like especially with these like non-EX decks, like these decks that are playing like these like Snorlax Giratinas, these Oricorio Greninjas, like Solgaleo having to knock out 3 things and then having a Giratina in the background waiting for it, just not the best situation, dude. So I don't think it's too bad. Like I think it's definitely playable. I just don't think it's the best of the best anymore. And maybe it'll rise up, bro. Maybe it'll literally rise up after I talk about this video again. But as of now, Solgaleo kind of just like fell off the earth. And honestly, I've played against more Lunalas than Solgaleos in the last 2 days. So that's kind of saying something. And Lunala is not the best of the best deck. Although low-key, I think that deck is sleeper. I think that deck is about to be started. I think this is one of those decks that are going to rise up next. Maybe it won't because he definitely can be inconsistent, but I don't know, dude. Like every time I play against that deck, they have like the God combo of Lunala Larder with the Mewtwo Giratinas, and I just basically get mopped because they literally go like first, evolve in the Lunala, transfer all the stuff to Mewtwo, blast me, dude, stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, that does it for the best decks to play in ranked right now. I just wanted to do an updated one, talk about like the stuff that fell out of the meta. Like I said, these are probably the best of the best list currently we have now. Maybe I might be missing deck. I know, like for example, like some people are playing Kangaskhan with Arceus Crobat instead of the Carnivine, but I think the Carnivine is just the most played and the most consistent version. Anyways, let me know if you guys like these decks in the comments. Let me know if you like the updated video, and then peace out. Have a lovely day, and I hope you guys' ranks journey go better, and I hope you simply don't rage tilt like I did last night, and I low-key lost 100 points.